Welcome once again, nerds, to the news. This week, World War Hulk is not getting made, at least not now, into any sort of live-action adaptation. Plus, in music, we can't escape Falling in Reverse. The Switch 2 in gaming has finally been acknowledged, kind of. We have Free Comic Book Day has come and gone over in the comic book section. We have Darth Jar Jar is getting made into a canon character, maybe? And Hollywood just can't help themselves but to ruin nostalgia. This time it's going to be round number 2 for the same IP. We'll get to that in the movie section, all of that and a bunch more in the news this week. Let's get into it. So, this week in music, we have some new music updates, kind of, from two of the most evil bands in the world. Plus, Falling in Reverse, like I said in the big intro, is just kind of everywhere right now. So, we're gonna jump into that, plus a little bit of new music and such. So, let's do that, shall we? We have follow-ups and corrections to kick things off in the music section. We have two, actually, follow-ups. First up is Slayer. We've talked about the fact that they have done a couple of reunion shows-ish. I don't know if it really qualifies because it's only been like 5 years since they, put their hats up or whatever. But we do have word officially from Kerry King at this point saying that there will not be any new music nor any full-blown tours from the band. They are still technically retired and they're going to stay that way for the foreseeable future. So Kerry King's focusing all of his creative endeavors into his solo project now, and the Slayer stuff is just going to kind of happen as it happens. No real plan to set forward there. So that's something, I guess. And then we got an update from Cradle of Filth in the studio at this point, finishing up the recording process for their next record, which is kind of crazy because they just put out a record not that long ago, though that was a live album. This is going to be a proper studio recording record. There were 2 studio tracks on the live album, but that's a whole other ball of wax we've already talked about. And kind of a weird potential situation going on. The Ed Sheeran track that we've been lightly keeping tabs on that still has not seen the light of day is potentially going to be a bonus track of some sort for the next Cradle of Filth record. So everything is still in motion. Danny Filth says that their target release date for the new record is March of next year. That's not an exact, there's no button on that one just yet, but that is what they're shooting for. Being as they've been in the studio for some time, especially considering the Ed Sheeran situation, that seems like a reasonable goal, I would say. Now, let's talk about the new music that has come out this past week. I think all of this is legitimately from the last week, it would seem, even though it's been a couple of weeks since we've done a proper pre-recorded episode. First on the ballot is All That Remains has released their first new track in approximately 6 years. It is called Divine, and is that not the perfect title for such a song? This is the first new music that we are hearing from All That Remains with their new drummer who used to play in Signs of the Swarm, I think. Plus Jason Richardson on lead guitar, filling in for the lost Ollie. I can't remember Ollie's last name and I apologize, but Jason Richardson is some kind of beast when it comes to this kind of stuff, and just an incredible addition to this incredible band. Metalcore is cool again, maybe? Either way, All That Remains is cool again. If you haven't heard Divine, by God, you should go listen to it now. Next up on the list is a band called Vended. We've talked about them a number of times on the channel. They are the offspring of Corey Taylor and Sean Clown from Slipknot, both of them, and they are in a band together. They make music that sounds similar to their father's music, but has a little bit more of a modern edge, tone, something. Previously, when we talked about this band, it's been nothing but good stuff. Like, they progressively have been getting better. But with the last two releases, this one very specifically, I've been getting this feeling of something is missing. Be that they got a little too big too quickly and they didn't really pay their dues and kind of cut their teeth like most other bands, or I don't know exactly what it is, but it just feels like there is something missing here. They're doing all the things right even, arguably, but just, I don't know, there's some of the behind the scenes, I think, is what's missing, that the soul feels a little plasticky. The new track is Nihilism. Go check it out, form your own opinion, come back and tell me I'm wrong, whatever, but let's have that conversation, because I feel like there is definitely something not there. Our next piece of new music is the first of 3 times we're going to be talking about Falling in Reverse. They have released a new song called Ronald. It is featuring Tech9 and Alex Terrible from Slaughter to Prevail, which is kind of a crazy combination of people, just a crazy combination in general, and throw it on top of a Falling in Reverse song, and you've got a very interesting combination of music right here, my friend. I'm not generally a Falling in Reverse fan. Has nothing really to do with Ronnie Radke. Honestly, I think Ronnie Radke personally is one thing and professionally is a completely different thing, but just never been my bag. This song, however, and the last couple of tracks that they have released have started to change my mind. I'm really coming around to Falling in Reverse, and this song, I think, is the one that's gonna put the bow on it for me. Definitely go check out Ronald. It is a banging new track. Then let's talk about the new POD track called I Got That. This is, if you have been listening to POD since before Satellite, since before Youth of a Nation, and I think Satellite was a big one off of that record, and It Feels So Alive. I can't remember the name of that track. Either way, if you've been listening to them since Southtown, their first record, the first label record anyway, this is the POD that you fell in love with. This is them getting definitely back to something that resembles. It's not the exact same sound that we got on Southtown, but it is much more similar to that than we've gotten from them in the recent past. So absolutely go check out I Got That from POD. It's pretty fun. Our next track in new music comes from Atreyu. Their new track is called Insomnia. It comes from The Beautiful Dark of Life, which I'm pretty sure this is the first single that they've released from the full-length EP. The previous singles have been from the full-length LP. Previous singles have been from the EPs that they've been releasing leading up to The Beautiful Dark of Life, which is the name of this record. I still am not 100% sure how I feel about this new direction for the band. The Brandon-centric vocals just feel like half of the equation. Like, Mark does what he can to kind of scratch the itch for the aggressive side of the vocals, and every now and then Brandon dips his toes into that pool as well, but it's just never going to be The Curse or Suicide Notes and Butterfly Kisses. It's just never gonna have that kind of raw edge. Lead Sails Paper Anchor even had a little bit more of an edge to it than this. So is it good? Absolutely. Brandon has amazing vocals. Is it the Atreyu I want it to be? I think Dead Icarus might take that cake. And then our final piece of new music this week comes from a band called Fuming Mouth. Name of this track is Daylight Again. It is a lyric video that they have released for it, not a proper music video, but I don't know, this is the kind of hardcore that I really got into when I was really into hardcore. It's got that kind of more dark, kind of a metal edge to it, but not quite thrashy like some of the other hardcore, like say Throwdown or something along those lines. This is just brutal and heavy. You can't even call it deathcore because it's not that technical. It's just bludgeoning you with a concrete brick heavy, and I really dig it. I really dig it. Fuming Mouth has an incredible career ahead of them in the hardcore scene, and I am here for all of it. Now let's kick into some tours and festivals that have been announced in the last week approximately. We did touch on the music section in the live episode last week. Matter of fact, the live episode last week was pretty exclusively music, though we veered off into AI music there for a little bit. So let's get into tours and festivals. First one is Coal Chamber has announced a new tour called Fiend for the Fans Tour 2024. Support is coming from Fear Factory, Twisted, Wednesday 13, and Black Satellite. It should be noted that the Wednesday 13 stuff is being billed as Wednesday 13 performing Murder Dolls music. So it's going to be music from the 2 Murder Dolls records that he made with Joey Jordison before Joey passed away untimely a few years back. Joey Jordison, obviously drummer for Slipknot and guitar player once in the Murder Dolls. So yeah, pretty freaking awesome. The tour starts August 23rd in Las Vegas, Nevada, runs through September 29th in Denver, Colorado. Though it should be noted, I did catch a couple of discrepancies, very notably the Denver date. The venue has it listed as a different date than the tour promo material is. So whenever tickets go on sale, which I believe is today, then hopefully they will have that ironed out. But yeah, there was a little bit of an issue with at least that one date, potentially others as well. If you are looking for pre-sale, because once it starts on the 10th. So what's today? The 8th. That's the 10th is when it's supposed to go on sale. Though again, things are kind of up in the air with this one. There is a link down in the description that will take you to the pre-sale, because there was not yet a pre-sale link available when I was doing the research for today's episode. If it is live, I will try and remember to change that link. Otherwise, the link that exists will get you there. Just going to take a little bit more work, and it will get you a pre-sale certificate, or a password rather, so you can get into the pre-sale with no problem. So our next tour has to do with Falling in Reverse. Like I said, we have 3 times that we're going to be talking about this band. This is number 2. This is the Popular Mons Tour Leg 2. This one is going to have support from Black Veil Brides, Dance Gavin Dance, and Tech 9 on some select dates. I think there was like 3 dates that have Tech 9 on them. So presumably they'll be able to do the new track that we just talked about, Ronald, live, because I don't know that although Ronnie Radke's ego is big enough that he'll probably do it without Tech being there. But if you do happen to catch it on a night that Tech is there, then it's going to be that much better. I don't know that they will ever have Alex and Tech 9 on the stage with Ronnie at the same time to do it proper, but one can only hope, right? So this tour this leg of the tour rather, kicks off August 18th in Nampa, Indiana. Runs through September 26th in Los Angeles. Tickets go on sale tomorrow. So as I am recording this, it is tomorrow, May 9th. And again, link down in the description will take you to a page that should have a link to the pre-sale tickets plus a pre-sale access password. If I can remember, I will try and change that one as well. But otherwise, that is the best way to do it. Our next tour is Mushroomhead. It is about that time that they make the announcement for their annual Halloween tour. Not saying that every show on this tour is going to be Halloween themed, though the last show, potentially the last 2 shows, because usually they book 2 dates in Cleveland. It's not that way just yet, but that's the Halloween show. They're going to go full on, do some of the old school stuff and probably some crazy new masks specifically for Halloween that they usually then auction off after the fact. But support on this one has my mind melting a little bit and driving me a little bit crazy that they have not announced a date that is near me just yet. But support is from Upon a Burning Body, There Is No Us, and Mind Incision. The tour starts October 4th in Buffalo, New York, runs through October 26th, like I said, in Cleveland, Ohio. It is a hometown show. Very likely there will be another show attached at the end of this tour in Cleveland, because usually they do at least 2. I think 2 years ago they did 3 Cleveland shows. So yeah, it will not surprise me if that happens. And if it does, you can come back here. We'll talk about it in the update or the follow-ups section. But until then, that's what we got for tours and festivals. From there, let's jump into some regular ass news. Only one thing in regular news this week, and that is our third piece of Falling in Reverse news. So new record coming out called Popular Monster. It's, I mean, kind of inevitable. They released the song called Popular Monster. They started the Popular Mons tour last year. They're on leg 2 now. We just talked about in the tour section. The record is set for release on July 26th. It's going to be on Epitaph. Crazy enough, they already have, I think it's 4 singles off of this record that have gone at least gold in the States, at the very least. One of them is multiple times platinum certified. So the title track, the Popular Monster, which is the platinum record, or the platinum single, and then Zombified, Voices in My Head, and Watching the World Burn, those 3 are all certified gold. So that is insane to be launching a record that has already 4 times received that kind of acknowledgement. That's pretty freaking cool. Yeah, and that's July 26th, once again, is the release date. Once it launches, we'll probably be talking about it here. That's what we got for regular ass news. So let's jump into music suggestion this week. It's gonna be a little bit of a different suggestion just because it's, you know, springtime, late spring. We're about to hit into summer, which means it is time to get out and see some live music. That is your suggestion for the week. Go catch a show, be it a big national touring act or just a couple of your buddies playing at a bar downtown. That is your suggestion this week. Get out and do some musicking, as Adam Neely and the people that he studies refer to it as. Go experience the music. Go become part of the experience of the music. Be in the crowd. Be up on stage even. That is the suggestion this week. Just, it's a little bit of a cop-out. I will own up to that, but I just couldn't decide on the one specific great new music piece. There's a lot of awesome music coming out right now, so go experience some of that live. That is your suggestion for the week.
Oh, hey nerds. So, just here to remind you this week that subscribing is great. You should do that. It really doesn't cost you much, and it helps us make the show happen. It also keeps me fed, so that's a good thing too, right? You don't want a dragon to get hungry. So hit the subscribe button, tell all your friends. We've gotten a lot of comments recently talking about how, like, people think we do a good job here, so let your friends know if that's the case, and it really helps us out even more that way. So, yeah, there you go. Either way, thank you for subscribing. Thank you for feeding me. Let's get back to nerdy things. Okay, bye.
This week in gaming and tech news, we have a brand new Star Wars game to the Switch. We're going to talk about that. Plus, we have the Meta Quest 3 is kind of already losing the plot. We'll get there. And Nintendo just acknowledged, at the very least, the giant pink elephant in the room. We'll get to all of that plus a little bit more. Let's talk about gaming and tech. Okay, so follow-ups and corrections. We finally have a follow-up on X-Defiant. The Tom Clancy free-to-play FPS game looks really good. We finally have a release date for it, and it's kind of a weird situation with the release date, so let's talk about that real quick. So it's May 21st is when pre-season starts. So it's not going to be season 1, it's kind of the advanced beta. It's free to play, so it's kind of acceptable for them to do it this way. Hopefully it won't be too buggy, but Lord only knows that is kind of the business model for AAA games anymore, especially free-to-play games. But there are a couple of things to be noted here. In the preseason, it will be 6 weeks long, so we will have 6 weeks of preseason, though they haven't said exactly how long the proper seasons are going to last. We will have 14 maps and 24 weapons, along with, where did it go? The factions, four factions? Yes, 4 factions. And then the roadmap, starting with Season 1, includes the addition of 4 new factions, plus 12 new weapons and 12 new maps. So that'll bring our count to Let's do a little bit of quick math real quick. We have 14 maps plus 12 maps is 26 maps. We have 8 factions by the end of season 1 and 36 new weapons, 36 weapons rather, by the end of season 1. So that's pretty significant. And hopefully I can get my hands on that trailer so you'll be looking at it a little bit right now as I'm talking about it, but it looks really damn good. They have said that it is going to be borrowing gameplay elements from the vast oeuvre, if you will, of the Tom Clancy games. So that sounds, there's a little bit of Splinter Cell in there too. It even looks like we're gonna get a little bit of spies versus mercenaries. Those seem to be at least 2 of the factions right at this point. I didn't, for whatever reason, write down the existing factions that are going to be launching for preseason, but we'll do another follow-up, I'm sure, before it launches on the 21st. That's pretty epic. I'm super stoked for this. I've been super stoked since they originally announced it about a year ago, I believe is when we last talked about this. From there, let's get into some trailers, though. We have the big one is Star Wars Hunters. We have it's a 4v4 arena battler. Couldn't exactly call it a brawler, couldn't exactly call it a shooter because there's a lot more than just shooting elements to this gameplay, but it is an arena style game. So it's 4v4. You have different arenas that are from the different areas of the universe in Star Wars, and it's on the Nintendo Switch, and it will be launching June 4th. So all of the sudden we have a brand new Star Wars game. The other noteworthy thing about this launch is that it's going to Android and Apple devices as well. So it's going to be very low on the demand side of things because they're not going to any of the proper current generation consoles, because arguably the Switch is a last gen console because it launched kind of before all the last gen consoles did. So yeah, pretty freaking nuts. You can pre-register if you are interested in playing it at StarWarsHunters.com, link down in the description. And I believe it is a free to play. Plus, you will not be required to have a Nintendo Store online or whatever the online subscription is that you need to play multiplayer stuff in order to play multiplayer for this game. It connects to different servers. Somehow they worked it out with Nintendo that you are not required to subscribe to the Nintendo service in order to play online. So that's fairly significant, I'm not gonna lie. Sounds pretty cool. Like I said, I'm pretty sure it's a free-to-play, though I'm not seeing that explicitly in the notes because I take amazing notes. So we will probably have to do a little bit of a follow-up before that launches on June 4th. But yeah. Moving right along for trailers, this is the first of 2 times we're going to be talking about Mortal Kombat 1, of course. We have Homelander as launching, the teaser trailer for the Homelander launch has finally dropped. It's very short, it's like 40 seconds or something along those lines. We get a couple of really quick lines of dialogue out of him, so we can't really tell if they pulled the wool over our eyes and did, in fact, get Anthony Starr to do the voice for Homelander, though to my ears that doesn't really sound like the same voice that's coming out of the face in the TV show, so it's probably just a voice actor. But Homelander trailer, go watch it. It's super hype. We will talk a little bit about the new hypeness over in the rest of Mortal Kombat stuff once we get into regular ass news, but that's what we got for trailers this week in Gaming and Tech. So let's move over to regular ass news, shall we? The first piece for regular news is Batman Arkham Shadow. So this is a new game in the Arkham universe, properly set in the Arkham universe. Going to be the first of the, I take that back. Going to be the second of those games that does not feature Kevin Conroy as the voice of Batman, sadly. It is going to be VR because it's MetaQuest 3, and it's MetaQuest 3, so we've got a couple of things that are kind of stacking themselves against this game doing any kind of good. First off, it is a little after the fact as far as the hype goes for the Arkham games, because we got, what was it, the Gotham Knights kind of killed that a little bit, and then, oh boy, and then we got the the Suicide Squad killed the Justice League, which is also in that same universe. absolutely destroyed any good hope that a lot of the fans had as far as the life of this franchise. So there's that, and then there's the Quest 3, which is the more expensive option, is not backward compatible with the Quest 2, and they have not sold many freaking units at this point. So there's definitely a lot going on here that just doesn't seem like, is this going to be a title that pushes a lot of units for the Meta Quest 3? It's possible, but not bloody likely. So yeah, definitely going to be keeping our eyes on sales for this one, because this is quite a conundrum as to where this is headed. From there, let's talk about the big Helldivers 2 pink elephant in the room. So since we last spoke, since the live episode last week, some stuff has gone down with the PlayStation Network. Sony very specifically decided that it was time to start enforcing the requirement for players of Helldivers 2 to have a PSN account. So if you did not have a PSN account as of, I believe it was Friday of last week, then you were no longer able to play Helldivers 2, which is a bit of a bummer because there are over 100 territories in which PlayStation Network is not freaking available. However, Steam is available in those areas, and you can play Helldivers 2 on Steam. Well, you could up until Friday. So after that happened, and the publisher is not getting off scot-free here, because yes, a large part of this is Sony's enforcement, but I mean, the publisher has taken ownership. I can't remember the name of the studio, and yeah, it's definitely not in the notes because everything is talking about Sony, but publisher has taken responsibility for, yes, we could have made it much more well known that you will eventually need a PSN account. Also, we didn't have to put it on sale in every country possible, because that's just kind of setting us up for failure. But it would seem that however dumb or nefarious that idea was to do, whichever way you want to take that, kind of sort of paid off, because Sony, as of Monday, so just a couple days later, walked it back entirely. You do not need a PSN account in order to play Helldivers 2. The update that was supposed to roll, that kind of sort of started to roll out because they delisted the game in all those 100 countries. It has now been walked back. They are not going to be rolling it out completely, and they have relisted the game in Steam in those 100 countries. So you have 3 days of crazy review bombing on Steam, for good reason. There is absolutely every reason in the world for the community to have done what it did. Yes, it was in the fine print that eventually you will need a PlayStation Network account, but at the very least, they could have grandfathered the people in. That would have been some sort of weird middle ground that would have worked. But I think the gamers came out on top on this one. This is absolutely a win for the community. So congratulations to all of you Helldivers 2 players, because I am not one of them. I'm an Xbox guy. My PC, I guess, theoretically could get Helldivers 2. Just haven't spent the money on it yet, I guess, is probably my biggest excuse. But yeah, Helldivers 2, super awesome. Let's move on, shall we? And then, like I said, we are talking about Mortal Kombat 1 one more time. This time, we're talking about some real quick updates. I guess this probably could have gone into the follow-ups and corrections section, but whatever, sue me. We have the announcement from Ed Boon himself that we are going to be getting the movie skin from 1995, the OG movie skin for Scorpion. There has been an allusion to getting the Katana skin from that movie as well, though some of the people are talking about the potential for the Katana skin from Annihilation. I don't think anybody really wants to acknowledge that that movie exists anymore, so that's probably not super likely, but it has been alluded to by Mr. Boon himself. Plus, we also got the Movado. Movado dropped. Wow. I labbed him a little bit last night, and this is going to change the game. This is going to change the meta as much as Chameleon and Janet Cage did previously. Potentially even more than those two combined, because you got a couple of gameplay elements that are exclusive to this cameo character that are fairly prevalent in other fighting games that have not been a thing in Mortal Kombat 1, at least one of these elements. The big one, though, is the on-the-ground move. So in Mortal Kombat, through the history of the game, 2D era, 3D era, to modern era, there has not been an OTG move ever. You've never been able to hit your opponent while they are knocked on their ass. Movado can do that, and it makes a lot of stuff safe. It's got some crazy startup frames, so it's not 100% safe, but they can also theoretically block out of it if they're quick enough. Either way, this is going to change the meta. And then you have the perfect block. I can't remember the name of the gameplay mechanic, but this was something that we got in Mortal Kombat 11. I want to say it might have been X, but I'm pretty sure it was 11, where if you perfect block, you can kind of push your opponent away from you. You get a free hit effectively. Very, very minor on damage, but enough to clear them out so that you can get a breather and maybe take your turn back. This element has not been included in Mortal Kombat 1. It was, like I said, previously included in either X or 11, but now Movado can do that too. So just a huge, huge change in the meta for Mortal Kombat 1. And then you have Ermac being an incredibly fun rushdown character, and just things are getting wild in the Mortal Kombat 1 community. I really, going into this weekend, because that's usually when I get most of my gameplay in, going into this weekend, I feel like it's going to be very strange if I see anybody in Combat League not cameoing with either Chameleon, Janet Cage, or Movado, because those three are kind of where it's at right now. So just a little bit of a gush from me for the Mortal Kombat community. Super excited about that. Let's move into the next piece of news, which is the giant pink Nintendo elephant in the room. Nintendo has acknowledged the fact that there is, in fact, a successor to the Switch. They have not yet given it an official name. They did only acknowledge it in one tweet from the company head, I think is who it was, on their X account. They basically, what the tweet says is that we have a successor to the Switch coming. It will be here in announcement form, if nothing else, by the end of our fiscal year. They very specifically said the fiscal year for Nintendo is when the time frame for which they are giving themselves to make the announcement. They then continued to say that we will not be getting any information about the next console from them in any of the Nintendo Directs that are on the immediate horizon. So will they announce it in a Nintendo Direct? Possibly. Will it get its own proper announcement outside of a Direct? That seems a little bit more likely, but it will not be in any of the currently scheduled Nintendo Directs, so do not be grumpy when it does not surface in a Nintendo Direct presentation. Yeah, I got a little bit to say on that, but we're going to get to that in the speculation section at the end of the rumor mill. So, yeah, they acknowledged it. It's a thing. It does exist. What it's called, what it looks like, any of its capabilities, Lord only knows at this point, but we will find out. Oh, and then the fiscal thing. So their fiscal year ends in March. So we have any time between now and March, technically, they have allowed themselves that big of a window to announce the next console. Very likely it will happen after the holiday season, so I don't think we're going to be seeing it before Christmas. I don't think we're going to see it before the end of the actual annual year. We will very probably be seeing it sometime January, February. I will be very surprised if they wait all the way until March to make that announcement, but it is coming. So we know that much. Let's move on. Actually, that's all we have for regular ass news. Let's get into gaming and tech suggestions this week. If you couldn't see this one coming already, Mortal Kombat 1 is the suggestion this week. That's what I'm going to be doing again. So that's the only thing I can legitimately, honestly suggest. If you want to find me, it's not that hard. I'm pretty sure I've changed my stuff. Whatever, go check out one of the live streams. My gamer tag is all over the live streams, and you can join me on Xbox. Actually, Mortal Kombat is cross-platform, so whatever it is, you can find me and you can fight me, and I will be more than happy to attempt to stick up for myself. Either way, Mortal Kombat 1, Movado, game changer. Ermac, a hell of a lot of fun to play, and this is just becoming fastly one of my favorite Mortal Kombat games. Not quite all the way up there, but it's getting close. So that's your suggestion for Gaming and Tech this week. This week in comic books and books, Free Comic Book Day was a hell of a lot of fun. It has since come and gone. We're going to talk about that for a moment. We have more new X-Men books announced, plus a Fallout Boy comic? Yeah, kind of. Let's get into all of that. So, Free Comic Book Day was May 4th. These are the comic book shop that I go to only was allowing people to take 3 books. So these are the 3 that I got. There were at least 3 or 4 other ones that I was trying to get my hands on as well. Honestly, was trying to go to, there was a new comic book shop apparently that was listed on Google, but when we went to the address, was nowhere to be found. So unfortunately, I could not get my hands on any more than the 3. It was May 4th, like I said, it was this past Saturday. It's always the first Saturday of May, so hopefully you made it out to Free Comic Book Day. If you did, let's have that conversation down in the comment section. What books did you get? What books did you miss? Were you hoping to get, etc., etc.? Are you excited for the potential for where that book that you did get your hands on is going to lead? All of the things. Super excited to hear your experiences from Free Comic Book Day. And if you did not get out and make it out to your local comic book shop, maybe, just maybe, they have a couple leftovers, because the comic book shop I go to generally, they usually have some stuff left over from the previous year that they then put out on the table. The current year, this year, that was not really the case. There wasn't really anything, at least nothing worth reading, that they had leftovers from last year. So yeah, let me know your experience with this year's Free Comic Book Day, because I thought it was a whole hell of a lot of fun, but I usually do. All right, so our next piece of news here in comic books and books is X-Men from the Ashes, the reboot, the restart, I guess is probably more appropriate in comic books. The restarting the X-Men story, because it's kind of breathing new life is the idea here. We previously got 3 books announced in the new reboot from the Ashes. Those 3 books previously, just to keep you up, are the straight up X-Men, we have Uncanny X-Men, and then Exceptional X-Men. The 2 books that were just announced this week are a new X-Factor book and a new Wolverine book. These 2 new books are going to be launching in August and September, respectively. I chose the Ultimates stuff in my Free Comic Book Day, but there was a book that was dealing with the From Ashes stuff. I would have rather got the Star Wars book that I did. So yeah, I don't know exactly what's in the Free Comic Book Day book just yet leading into the From Ashes stuff. I will soon, so if you want to be the one that enlightens me, or I'll enlighten myself, then absolutely take to the comment section to do that. But I'm very intrigued by the idea of X-Men being good again. So if that does not happen, we will probably talk about that briefly in the future, but if it does happen, we'll talk about it a lot more. From there, we have one piece of regular news to go over, and that is Pete Wentz. Pete Wentz, bass player, songwriter from Fall Out Boy, he is doing his own comic book. The name of his comic book is called Dying Inside. It will be co-written by Jonah Klein. It will have art from Lisa Sturl, who previously has worked on Witchblood and Squad books. There is going to be a unique take on how they do this book. It's being released through Vault Comics, and the end of each issue is going to have a QR code that you can scan. That QR code is going to take you to to playlists curated by Pete Wentz, which will include original music plus poetry from Pete Wentz. What is it? It's original playlist curated by Wentz alongside so no original music. I misspoke. Just original playlists from Pete Wentz. Yeah, that seems a little silly to me, but I mean, it's worked for rock stars in the past. You've got, what's his name from oh Lord, Black Parade, My Chemical Romance. I can't think of his name right now. Totally brain farting. But his book, he wrote on the Umbrella Academy. He's done a couple other things. Gerard Way, there we go. He's done fairly well for himself in the comic book sphere. I don't know that Pete Wentz as exactly the target audience that MCR had. Fall Out Boy is a little bit of a different thing. Anyway, we'll talk about that when we get into speculation for things a little bit later. That is, though, what we have for comic books and books, except for suggestions for comic books and books. This week we have Wolverine Deluxe Edition. I just picked mine up while I was at the comic book shop, and so this is what I'm going to be reading this week. Hell yes! This is the Chris Claremont and Frank Miller arc that defined the character. Everything we love about this character, everything that every nerd, that is exactly what Wolverine stands for. That is exactly who Wolverine is. This is the book that put that into motion, that defined all of those things. So this is your assigned reading for the week. It shouldn't take you but maybe a couple of hours. And yeah, the definitive Wolverine Deluxe Edition. Go pick it up. It's like 20 bucks at the comic book shop, and it's going to be an epic read. This week in TV streaming, apparently we're making Darth Jar Jar a canon character. Kind of. We also have an update on the Gen V situation for those fans of The Boys and that whole universe. Plus, The Boys has given us a little bit of an update as well, and a fair bit more in TV this week, so let's get into that, shall we? Starting off in follow-ups and corrections, we have a follow-up on Snowpiercer. We have a final season happening. The 4th season will happen. The premiere date has been set on AMC and AMC Plus, July 21st. So not day after for the streaming service. It's going to be simultaneously on both. As I said, it is going to be the final season of Snowpiercer. So interested to see how this one ends. That's all we got there. Let's move next to the big one this week, and that is Gen V. If you remember, the last time we talked about this, it's been a few weeks. One of the stars, Chance Perdomo, tragically lost his life a few weeks ago in a motorcycle accident. And so it's kind of been a little bit crazy in the Gen V camp for the last few weeks. They have officially come out and made an announcement that they will not be recasting the role of Andre Anderson. Production rightfully has been postponed for a certain amount of time. The official start date on production has not yet been announced, but there was an official statement given from the producers on their Twitter account, and it is as follows. They said, "As we continue to navigate the tragic loss of Chance Perdomo, everyone at Gen V is determined to find the best way to pay respect to his memory. We won't be recasting the role because no one can replace Chance. Instead, we have been taking the time and space to recraft our Season 2 storylines as we begin production in May. We will honor Chance and his legacy this season." So pretty freaking awesome. Not gonna lie, like it feels a little heavy, and it should. And I have no doubt in my mind that they are actually going to do what they said they're going to do and honor his legacy, because what a hell of an actor to have lost, man. He was definitely going to be doing some great things in the future. So that being said, we do have a couple other things to get out of the way here in the follow-up section. Next up is Blade Runner 2099. We've talked about this one previously. Live action series that is going to be the sequel to Blade Runner 2049. That series has just announced they have found one of their leads in Michelle Yeoh. She is being billed as the series lead, so maybe it's going to focus exclusively around her. She is going to be the Blade Runner for the series. So she's going to be the stand-in, I guess, in a certain way, for Harrison Ford in the first movie, and then Ryan Gosling in the second movie. She's going to be that part for this story. So that's pretty great. Michelle Yeoh is always a win, I feel like. Even on the Star Trek stuff, I really dig her character more than most. So yeah, I'm very intrigued to see what she can bring to this story. And then one final quick follow-up is Night Court, the reboot series, or the Legacy sequel series, I guess, has been officially renewed for a third season over on NBC. So if you're watching on Peacock rather. If you're watching on Peacock, then good news, because it's getting a third season. I still haven't watched season 2 because I'm a slacker when it comes to sitcoms like that, but I really loved season 1, and I really, really loved the OG series. So yeah, always good news when you hear a show that you like is getting renewed. From there, let's get into trailers this week. We got an Acolyte trailer that, honestly, if I'm looking at this in a vacuum, looks pretty damn good. Though, then you get into the press release and you get into all of the other things that they're talking about around the Acolyte, and because we don't live in a vacuum, this definitely does not exist in a vacuum. And we have the main villain is being billed as non-binary. The villain. Now remember, this is the kind of the interpersonal politics that they're trying to push as a good thing, and they're making the bad guy line up with their personal politics. I mean, does anybody else see this? Is this like totally lost on whatever, man? We've been talking about this, but kind of since the Matrix, the fourth Matrix movie, when it came out, Resurrections, I think, when it came out, and the Lana Wachowski was trying to make this a trans allegory and totally missed that mark, made it exactly the opposite. Now they're making the non-binary character the villain. I really don't think they know how to push their own message, but we're not going to spend too much time on that. I mean, otherwise it looks like it's going to be something interesting. It looks like it could add some sort of really interesting element to the universe. Could. I am not holding my breath for that, because right now even Mandalorian can't save Star Wars. So yeah, Acolyte, go check out the trailer, form your own opinion. They cut off the comments on it. So yeah, it kind of is what it is at this point. Next up, we have The Boys season 4 finally drops a trailer. Finally. This trailer is absolutely, I mean, there are a couple of things in there that I'm going, this is coming to an end soon. Like, this really feels like they're building up to a proper finale. Is it going to be this season? I believe we've talked about the fact that they want to go for 5 seasons, at least 5 seasons. So maybe they are gearing us up for that. But yeah, either way, this looks like it is going to be another fantastic season of programming from the people over at The Boys. Also, release date, June 23rd is when it's going to start airing over on Amazon Prime. So from there, we have our next one is Lego Star Wars Rebuild the Galaxy. This is a new Disney Plus series, obviously. September 13th is when it launches, and in this trailer, we get Darth Jar Jar. So they've heard the speculation about why Jar Jar was such a screw up in the prequel trilogy, and they're now leaning into the fan service. Is that going to be enough to get people to like it? I don't think so. Is it the fact that it's a Lego franchise as well, or a Lego associated franchise as well, series rather? Maybe that will save it a little bit. And also, if they do something stupid, they can say, oh, it doesn't count because it's Lego. But also, when they do something that most of us think is cool, and they don't want that to be part of the universe, they can say, well, that doesn't count because it's Lego. So like, it's kind of a double-edged sword, though the trailer looks like it's going to be a hell of a lot of fun. This is, I mean, you can't really go wrong with the Lego stuff, right? So yeah, go check that one out too, for sure. Next on the list of trailers, we got a few of them this week. We have the Rick and Morty anime got a trailer. set to premiere sometime later this year. No exact date for that just yet, but if you're a Rick and Morty fan, this looks like it's going to be doing all kinds of awesome for your brain, so go check that out. It is in Japanese, so I did not expect that, but I'm also not a huge Rick and Morty guy, so there is that. And then our next one, this one's a little bit on the epic side, not gonna lie. Netflix's Cobra Kai has just launched a new trailer for the final season 6. Season 6 is of note going to be released in 3 big chunks. It is going to be 15 episodes, so a rather long season in terms of modern television programming. So it's 15 episodes. Part 1, so the first of the 3 chunks, is going to be released July 18th. Part 2 is going to then be released November 28th, and Part 3 is going to be released sometime in 2025. So presumably, I would say if we get past March, I'll be very surprised with the release of the 3rd part of Cobra Kai. But yeah, Cobra Kai Season 6 trailer looks like it's going to go out on a high note, and for all the right reasons. I dig that series, and you should go check it out. That's all we got for trailers. Let's talk now about some regular ass news. I think we only have the one piece. My notes are a little scattered. Yeah, we only have the one piece for regular ass news this week, and it's live action Scooby-Doo series. I believe we might have, no, we have not previously talked about this because it was literally just announced. A live action Scooby-Doo series over on Netflix is going to be showran by none other than the great Greg Berlanti. Say what you will about some of the choices he made with the Berlantiverse over on the CW. I think he still is a good person to showrun a thing like this, especially because like we have the Velma issue already. Let's get something that's a fresh take on this franchise that we all love that actually still works too, right? Like that's, but yeah, Greg Berlanti. The writers on this is where it starts to go downhill. Starts to go downhill fairly quick. The writers on this are Josh Applebaum and Scott Rosenberg. You might remember those names because they were the writers on the live action adaptation of Cowboy Bebop. There's our first red flag. Our second red flag for this is that it's being described as a drama project and also a live action update of the popular cartoon. The second part of that, less of a red flag. The first part of that, drama, Scooby-Doo drama? Really? Oh, Greggy boy. I still hold out hope that this is going to be fantastic. Is it going to be fantastic in the way that Smallville was fantastic? In that at the end of every episode, I really enjoy what happened, but I'm still super frustrated because Superman doesn't fly? Yes, I think that's the direction it's headed in. I still think it's going to be fun. I just don't think it's going to be as fun as I want it to be. So, from there, that's, like I said, the only piece of regular ass news. We do have a suggestion this week, and the suggestion's a little niche, so it's probably going to be a little bit difficult for some people to get their hands on, but the name of the show is called From. There are 2 seasons. It is up on MGM Plus, which I honestly didn't even know was a streaming service until I got a free taste of this series on my Amazon Prime. It's freaking great. It is a horror series, so going into it, realize it's going to be very, very grim, very bloody, very gory, lots of harsh language, some violence. Know what you're getting into, but it is stupid good. I cannot sing the praises of this enough. There is supposed to be a 3rd season coming, though the last we heard of that was a little over a year ago. So is it still in the works somewhere? Possibly. We don't know that for certain. So that's what we got for our suggestion for TV streaming this week. Go check out From on MGM Plus or however the hell you need to get your hands on it. I wholeheartedly recommend this series.
Why do I get the impression you forgot to push the subscribe button? I mean, it's free, so go ahead and do that, and, yeah, okay, thanks. Yeah, thanks. We'll get back to the show now. Okay, bye. This week in movies, why is it so
so hard to make a live-action He-Man franchise? I just don't get it. Also, some high-profile movies get pushed back, and we have a new Francis Ford Coppola sci-fi movie. Pretty interesting, and a little bit more, so let's get into that. Coming out swinging, we got the big one first. He-Man is our follow-up and correction. We've talked about the fact that He-Man is getting a new live-action adaptation, but very little has been released up until now about what this live-action adaptation. So we now have a release date, June 5th of 2026. So hopefully that's a good sign that it's over a year away. But we have a synopsis from the production company, and this is where everything just totally gets blown to pieces. Let me read you the synopsis. Synopsis is: 10-year-old Prince Adam, who crashed to Earth in a spaceship and was separated from his magical power sword, the only link to his home on Eternia. After tracking it down almost 2 decades later, Prince Adam is whisked back across space to defend his home planet against the evil forces of Skeletor. But to defeat such a powerful villain, Prince Adam will first need to uncover the mysteries of his past and become He-Man, the most powerful man in the universe. Okay, so like some of that shows a modicum of potential. Emphasis on modicum. You know, He-Man has nothing to do with Earth. I think that's the biggest issue that we have right here. So a good portion of this movie, probably because it's cheaper to do it this way, a good portion of this movie is going to take place on Earth. We learned our lesson with the Dolph Lundgren movie, did we not? From the 80s. I think it was like 86 is when that movie came out. That movie was hot garbage because we went the cheap route. Like, yes, it's niche now and it's very underground popular and blah 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 blah. But by all metrics, even the people who love that movie acknowledge the fact that it is not good. So I don't like, where are we losing the plot here? I don't get it. Oh, yeah. So potentially they could do some reshoots between now and the June 5th of 2026 to make the emphasis on the Eternia portions and hopefully just completely ditch, if not for more than a scene, all of the Earth connections. I don't think that's going to happen though, so if we get another update, then we will be talking about it. But from there, we have an update on the Tron Ares situation. The Jared Leto fronted movie also includes Cameron Monaghan, which I don't remember us going over that in a proper episode, but he was part of the cast list for this. So that's a little bit of an update. But the big one here is that Jeff Bridges has just announced that he is also going to be part of the cast for this third Tron movie. So Tron Ares going to also include Jeff Bridges as part of the grid, probably going to play Tron. I don't know that he's going to play, I can't remember the name of his human character, but he was also Tron, so kind of stands to reason he's got to be in the movie that bears the name of the character he played, right? Anyway, so pretty cool. Gonna dig it. Then let's get to, these are our movies that got bumped. Follow-ups here is Kraven the Hunter and The Crow. Both of these movies have been pushed back. So Kraven the Hunter was set to be released this December 13th, has now been pushed back to August 30th. And then The Crow was set to be released August 23rd and is now coming out June 7th. So a little bit of shuffling around in the Hollywood sphere. Kind of to be expected, especially when The Crow released to such mixed reviews as far as the trailers and such go. And then we have one last follow-up. We now have official confirmation that Giancarlo Esposito has been cast in some mysterious role in the MCU. He himself has made it known that he is part of the MCU now, though he has not said as to who. In the interview where he talked about it at CCXP in Mexico last week, the words that he uses, we're going to be seeing him in an MCU movie sooner rather than later. So that would imply, very probably that he's not going to be playing Professor X, because that would be a little bit later rather than sooner, because we have nothing on the immediate schedule that is going to be X-Men related. And anything that is on the projected schedule, I think, is liable to be moved back, though I'm a little rusty on the projected schedule right now. So either way, Giancarlo Esposito very probably not playing Professor Xavier, but has been cast for something in the MCU. That's our follow-up. Let's move over to trailers. This one actually kind of caught my interest. This came just from the YouTube algorithm, was suggested to me that way. Yeah, super stoked that YouTube understands me to that degree, but we have Megalopolis is the trailer that we're talking about. This is a new movie from Francis Ford Coppola. Francis Ford Coppola, obviously Godfather, right? You're aware of this. It's a new science fiction movie starring Adam Driver that has something to do with time manipulation, if not straight up time travel as well. I'm intrigued. Francis Ford Coppola, kind of always a win. Then you have Adam Driver, kind of always a win. Yeah, this is just adding up to be something fantastic. So go check out the trailer, get hype with me. Let's talk about that down in the comment section, because maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I missed something that isn't hype about this, but I don't think that's the case. That is our one trailer. We have no regular ass news, so let's talk about our movie suggestion this week. Our movie suggestion is a classic when it comes to nerd movies, and that is The Matrix. Just the OG Matrix, man. It's available right now on Netflix. It might also be available on Max at the same time. I don't remember seeing it on both, but I just watched it last night on Netflix. I'm pretty sure it's still on Max as well. But yeah, Matrix, OG Matrix, even though it's the remastered version that's up on Netflix that has the wrong color grade, so everything's that really annoying green instead of being the blue that it was originally. It's a whole other video that plenty of other people have already made, but it's still great. It's still a classic for plenty of reasons. Go watch The Matrix this week. That is your movie suggestion to take home. I would really love to thank our channel partner here at Generally Nerdy, and that is Dubby. Dubby has been so kind as to join up in a partnership with us and give us a way to earn a little bit of money here on the channel, and with a proper tasty product and something that I actually enjoy consuming myself. So even if I wasn't sponsored by them to a certain degree, like, I would still be actively consuming this. This is the Push and Punch variation. Our next one that we're going to try here on the channel is the Cali O Cream. It's the orange creamsicle one. Dubby is a bit cheaper than the competition, so there's that. The only way to beat their prices is if you shop at the dollar store to get very, very lucky. And they have more than just a caffeine blend. There's a lot of nootropics in here so that you can actually helps you focus. Definitely when I'm at work and I need to buckle down, the caffeine helps, sure, but the nootropics help me focus and get the food at my restaurant out fast without any mistakes. And legitimately, I really dig the Dubby stuff. So that is our sponsor spot for the day. Thank you very much, Dubby. And now let's get back to the show.
It's classified.
This week in the rumor mill, we have got to kill this World War Hulk rumor. There have been some new updates to it. Plus, Linkin Park finds themselves smack dab in the middle of the rumor mill. And we have new rumors for how Ben Affleck is going to join the MCU proper. Not just his Daredevil role, but maybe something new. So, that and a bit more, let's get into it. Starting things off, we kind of sort of got a confirmation this week in that Giancarlo Esposito is going to be joining the MCU. He has been, in fact, cast for something, like we talked about in the movie section. We just don't know what, so it's not really a confirmation. It's just only kind of a confirmation. So there's that. But we do have a new source for an old rumor, which honestly gives this a little bit more credence. It's Chris Evans. Chris Evans is apparently, according to the rumors, apparently going to be making a return to the MCU. But not just one return. We have two different instances where Chris Evans is supposedly going to be returning to the MCU. First up, we have Captain America is going to be coming back for the Secret Wars movie. And then Johnny Storm, if you'll you'll remember, Chris Evans played the Human Torch in the Fox Fantastic Four movies, the first two. Johnny Storm, as played by Chris Evans, is reportedly going to make a cameo appearance in Deadpool and the Wolverine. So two different Chris Evans MCU characters are coming back, according to the rumor mill. These have been circulating for some time, though they do now come from a couple of really good rumor mongers. So this is much more likely. We don't give percentage of likelihood for news sources, but we do give percentage of likelihood for new rumors. So let's talk about that. Our first big new rumor is a music rumor. It has to do with Linkin Park, the nu metal band extraordinaire, kind of the one of the biggest. I wouldn't say they're the biggest, because I would venture that Korn and Limp Bizkit both outshine them, but one of the biggest bands in the nu metal scene. Obviously hasn't been doing much with music recently in recent years because of the tragic passing of Chester Bennington years ago. They are now said to be entertaining offers for a reunion tour, which means they also are going to have to find a vocal replacement for said past vocalist, Chester Bennington. The rumor goes on to say that the person they are looking for to replace Chester vocally is a female. I don't know why that needs to be a thing. And then also, as part of this rumor, it goes to list the individual members who are entertaining the offers and excludes samplist Johan and drummer Rob Bourbon. So very interesting situation. Both of those members have been around since before the band called themselves Linkin Park. Back when they were called, there was a different name, and then they called themselves Hybrid Theory for a hot second, and then they changed the name to Linkin Park and called their first record Hybrid Theory. So yeah, very, very strange situation. Now, this is going to be an interesting caveat for the percentage of likelihood. Do I think that they are entertaining offers for a reunion tour? Yes, I absolutely do. They have been doing press, well, not all, but a few of the members, besides just Mike Shinoda, have been doing some sort of press recently, which means there's something brewing. So we're going to say about 70% likely that they are entertaining offers for a reunion. Will it exclude Johan and Rob? Probably not. Also, will the vocal replacement for Chester be a female? I could honestly go either way on that one. So we'll just give it the overall 70% that there is something to this and move right along. Our next one has to do with Ben Affleck making an appearance in the MCU proper. This is not explicitly, the rumor says he's not coming back as the Man Without Fear. He will not be Daredevil in this cameo. But speculation has gone on to say that he will be coming back as potentially Norman Osborn or even potentially Doctor Doom. If it is a Norman Osborn cameo, then that very likely implies the Dark Avengers, though either way, it's probably going to be from some alternate universe, so he's going to be a variant of whatever character he comes back for. So, likelihood that this is going to be how we get Ben Affleck in the MCU proper is fairly high. I'm going to put this one just slightly above the Linkin Park one, say about 75% likely that Ben Affleck is going to have some sort of minor cameo in one of the movies coming up dealing with the multiverse. I think anything beyond a minor cameo is really out of the picture. He's not that kind of guy anymore, I don't think. So from there, continuing on with the MCU, we have Avengers 6 rumor. This one's been floating around for some time, but it's really picked up some steam recently and been picked up by a couple of the more well-known rumor mongers. And it has to do with it changing from Kang being the main villain, though we'll get to that in a different rumor. From doing, what is it, the Kang Dynasty Avengers movie, now the rumor is that Avengers movie has been turned into a new mashup movie, which will be Avengers versus the X-Men. There's a lot here. There is a lot here because X-Men is going to be introduced into the MCU very, very soon. Also, one of the best performing movies of the original saga, which I can't remember the Infinity Gauntlet, Infinity Saga, I think is what they called it. One of the best performing movies from that was Cap versus Iron Man, aka Civil War. And so would they want to try and replicate that kind of performance? Absolutely. Abso-freaking-lutely. So there's a lot of steam here. We're going to say this one's about 80% likely that we are going to be seeing X-Men versus the Avengers. The little bit of doubt that I have here is I don't know 100% that this is going to be the stand-in for Avengers 6. Will it be its own movie? Will it be the become what Avengers 6 was supposed to be? That part's still very fuzzy, but will they do this mashup movie? That's almost 100% likely at this point. From there, we have some Star Wars stuff to talk about. First up, we have George Lucas is being rumored to be coming back to the franchise to some degree. I guess technically this is new source for old rumor because every 6 months or so, somebody starts talking about the fact that George Lucas is going to be directing a new movie, or he's going to get another trilogy unto himself, or he's just going to be executive producing, so on and so forth, etc., etc. This one comes from somebody who works with Lucas, so it seems to have a little bit more traction, and it also doesn't specifically say what he's going to doing, which vagary usually helps for a rumor. So I'm going to say about 70% likely that we will see George Lucas involved somehow in some sort of live action Star Wars something in the future. Not super likely he'll direct, very probably he'll be a producer, and also very probably if it's a series, he'll be some sort of consultant for creativity, and I think that's about as much as I can put any sort of weight on. But staying with Star Wars, we have another rumor saying that because the reason why rather George Lucas is coming back is because Jon Favreau is out. Jon Favreau has decided that he no longer wants to work with Kathleen Kennedy and has hit the bricks, as it were. Yeah, said to be creative differences, though this is where this rumor starts to fall apart because it's not Kathleen Kennedy this time, which is every other time we've talked about the potential for Jon Favreau to be leaving the franchise. It's been because he hates Kathleen, because everybody hates Kathleen. And now it's saying that it's creative differences between he and Filoni. That seems very odd. Also, the rumor goes on to say that the Mandalorian and Grogu project was only a rumor that was started by Disney. So Disney was the ones that said, hey, we're going to do this thing without getting the okay from Filoni or Favreau in order to talk about this movie. But again, that is not part of the Disney playbook. It might kind of be part of the Kathleen Kennedy, rather. It might be part of her playbook. That kind of jury is still out because whether or not the Rey movie actually happens is what is going to be the deciding factor there. But yeah, the fact that the Mandalorian and Grogu movie isn't a rumor, it was officially announced. This sounds like fanboy wish list stuff. So yeah, I'm not going to give this one a whole lot of credence though, because it is possible. It's been in the rumor mill to some degree for so long. We're going to say 40% possible that this is a thing. I really don't put a whole lot of weight on that. From there, we have more MCU rumors. This one is the World War Hulk rumor. So we now have a rumor saying that one of the they're doing World War Hulk as a series, and that it's not going to include Mark Ruffalo. He plays the Hulk in the MCU, so why he is currently playing the Hulk in he hasn't been recast. That's not a thing, but it says that they're not going to include Bruce Banner in the rumor. It says they're not going to include Bruce Banner in this series. So how is that World War Hulk? That does not add up. The one thing that kind of makes a little bit of sense with this rumor is that it is going to be leading into the Secret Wars movie. So there is that. Also, it's going to feature more than just Hulk related superheroes. It's going to feature more street level superheroes, which is kind of the nail in the coffin right there, because we'll get to why that is in a moment. But that big kind of giveaway just sounds like somebody got their wires crossed a little bit. So we're going to say 20% likely that World War Hulk is going to be coming out anytime soon, and even kind of sort of resembling this rumor. It's not bloody likely. But we do have an Avengers 5 5 rumor that might be where this rumor got started. So the Avengers 5 rumor comes from a number, again, a few of the better sources for rumors. It says it's going to consist of smaller superhero teams. It's not going to include the Fantastic Four, and they have asked previous MCU actors to quote unquote keep their schedules open. It will very likely include Kang, who will be recast, as well as Doctor Strange, who is still being played by Benedict Cumberbatch. So this one, there is a lot more meat behind this one, excuse me, because they're trying to build out the universe a little bit more. This sounds like it fits more in line with the game plan that we know is already in place from Feige. So this one seems a bit more likely. Will it play out exactly like this? Will it play out like we're only going to get cameos from the more well-established characters and it's going to focus mostly on those quote-unquote street-level, smaller teams? That part seems a little bit more on the murky side, but I think there's a lot more to this one than any of the other ones dealing with the Avengers stuff. So we're going to say 80% likely for the smaller teams version of the Avengers in Secret Wars. And then next on the rumor mill list is Apocalypse, the first mutant, as he likes to call himself. The rumor here in the MCU is that they are going to cast The Rock to play Apocalypse in the MCU. It sounds like it could be fun, but is it likely? There's not enough information on either side of this. Honestly, if I was going with my gut feeling, I would say no, unless Marvel really pulls their head out of their ass and starts dealing with their villains a little bit better, because Apocalypse is kind of a nagging issue throughout the entire life of the X-Men and the Marvel universe as a whole anyway. So if they approach it from that angle and The Rock gets to be in a number of very big budget, very big Disney Marvel movies, then yeah, that seems a little bit more likely. But is he so expensive that they only want to throw one movie at him? And then if that's the offer, is he going to take it? Probably not. So it kind of could very much go both ways. So we're going to split the difference right down the middle, say about 50% likely that we will see The Rock as Apocalypse in the MCU. So from there, let's talk about some speculation on some of the things we've been talking about. Kind of the first one I wanted to touch on is He-Man. We talked about the He-Man movie that we now have a release date, and they gave us a little bit of a synopsis. This, I speculate, is going to be atrocious at the movie theaters. Is not going to make very much money. It is in fact going to bomb, given the information that we have been given. And then from the comic book section, there's a little bit of speculation there as far as the Pete Wentz comic book. Pete Wentz's target audience is middle-aged millennial women. Not exactly a whole lot of comic book readers in that demographic, so I think it too is going to do rather poorly. At the very least, his curated playlists are probably not going to do so great either. I think that was all of the speculation I really wanted to touch on. Oh, and then the Nintendo Switch, I think the internet, this is a different kind of speculation. When we don't get any information, like they told us we're not going to, but when we don't get any information from the Nintendo, I think there's 2 Nintendo Directs that are already scheduled within the next 3-6 months. Yeah, when we don't get any information on the Nintendo Switch it's very likely that there are going to be a lot of very angry nerds who don't pay attention very well because they're telling us there's not going to be any information in them, but they're still going to be upset about it. But yeah, that's what we got for speculation here in the rumor mill, and that is what we got for the rumor mill. Which puts us all the way at the end to the housekeeping section. Housekeeping? Yeah, not a whole lot of housekeeping to really worry about this week. I saw Slaughter's Brevel. That's why last week's episode was a live episode, just because there was other things going on, and then also going in the middle of recording and editing time to see a band that I really like. It wasn't really great as far as scheduling time to record and edit. So that's why we went live. But as far as over the course of the next week before I see you again, not much. Very likely got some things to talk about over in the That Just Happened episode. But as far as housekeeping on the channel, just still plug it away. So
please go away. Let me sleep for the love of God.
Well, thank you very much, nerds. If you're here for the first time and you've made it all the way to the end of the episode, might as well freaking subscribe at this point, because this is what we do here. We talk about the news, we have opinions, and we share them. So yeah, let's hear your opinion. Let's see you push that subscribe button, which you've already been asked to do at least once at this point on the episode. And I appreciate your faces, nerds. Thank you very much for joining me for another episode of the news. We will see you again in a week approximately. Yeah, before we go, always remember that if it's generally nerdy, it's probably here.